Hello, I'm Drew Lewis, recent Howard University School of Law alumna, and I was a student attorney with the Movement Lorient Clinic in the spring of 2021. One of the major projects that my clinic group worked on was co-writing an amicus brief in support of granting parole to infamous political activist and former Black Panther Sundiata Acoli. I specifically wrote about the implicit bias of parole board members, especially in relation to race and gender. I talked about the effect of implicit bias on the parole board's deliberations and assessments of remorse as an indicator of someone deserving of being released from prison. This is especially significant when you have the New Jersey Parole Board that's historically been comprised of majority white males, and they're tasked with assessing the actions and behaviors of a Black man. There are so many nuances and behaviors and social dynamics that vary between cultures, and that research was crucial to identify so that we could effectively communicate to the court that they should at least acknowledge all of the biases that are existing that are now inhibiting justice from taking place. And in this case, justice was freeing Mr. Acoli. I've always been appreciative of my time and participation in the Movement Lorient Clinic, especially because of how unique it was. For example, we don't have the typical client intake because our clients were not individuals per se, but organizations and entities that represented a larger cause. And this is exactly what the clinic and the Thurgood Marshall Civil Rights Center exemplifies, with its goals to effect tangible, long-lasting social change by combining the law with research and community organizing of social justice movements. I fondly remember in class one day, one of my colleagues had mentioned that it's human nature to be used to instant gratification, doing work to achieve a result shortly after. But with this clinic and in this profession, quite frankly, we are working on a lot of big projects. In the clinic, each group, even aside from the Sundiata case, we were working on huge projects that would have such an impact. But we had to acknowledge that sometimes we wouldn't see the fruits of our labor just because of how it all works. It's not going to happen overnight or even in one semester. But when I tell you, when Professor Hansford first emailed my group earlier last semester in January about the oral arguments before the New Jersey Supreme Court, I was excited about that. I was just like, wow, okay, we see some movement in the case. I wonder what's going to happen next. And I had spoken with Professor Hansford about something unrelated a few months back. And I asked him if there was any updates after the oral arguments, and there hadn't been. So, I just chalked it up as something that's just going to take some more time. And I was concerned, honestly, about how much time, because Mr. Acoli, he's 85 years old, and I know it was once a goal of ours and Miss Sophia Elisha, who wanted him released by his birthday in January. But honestly, this is the next best thing. Less than 5 minutes after graduating and becoming a lawyer. Well, literally 3 days, not 5 minutes. But in 3 days, I think Hansford texted me this past Tuesday with the news of Mr. Acoli being released. He sent me a screenshot of the Sundiata Acoli Twitter account stating that the New Jersey Supreme Court granted his release after serving 49 years in prison. And then that, to me, I couldn't even fully describe in words how special it was, because even though you know how impactful the work you're doing is, no matter how small or how big your contribution is, there's nothing more gratifying than knowing that you and the work of your colleagues at Hustle and in TMC and the Movement Lorient Clinic and all of those attorneys who helped co-author the amicus brief and present oral arguments, and the community organizers working in the background and in the forefront. It's a collective effort to reach a common goal, as is with all social justice movements, to protect civil rights. And it just felt so incredible. In the simplest of terms, just incredible, awesome, amazing. Because how incredible could this be? That something we worked on a year ago, literally a year ago, developed into something so beautiful as this, as us reaching our goal of achieving justice and getting Mr. Acoli released from prison on parole. And it just felt so incredible to be a part of the history of this case, to have Howard Law's name on it, specifically the Movement Lorient Clinic, specifically me and my colleagues, Alana, Jerron, Sunita, having our name stamped on this was incredible. I couldn't have asked for anything more. I couldn't have asked for a better way to end my hustle career. And honestly, as I begin my legal career soon, I just hope that my legal career is filled with many more times where I feel like this when I get good news. I just feel so grateful and proud of the work we put in to get to our goal. And in just one short year, one short year to get Mr. Cooley released from prison. So I'm very appreciative. I hope that my future is filled with a lot more successes in this arena. So I'm very grateful and I'm very happy to have been a part of the process.